You go ahead, you touch my strawberries, but guess what's getting dipped in chocolate next? What's good, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So, I thought about this recently, and I don't know if we have ever had a conversation about this before. If anybody's been around long enough to know if I have talked about this specific topic once before, then let me know. But I have something I want to talk about. Recently, I was just kind of thinking about the entire concept around Pokemon Legends ZA, and I'm generally happy with the direction that they're taking it. I'm sure that, like many others, when we first got our hands on Pokemon Legends Arceus, we figured this could be a potential new prequel series where we would delve into the history and pasts of all of these different regions that we already good and well know. A lot of people were arguing with me a lot when I would tell them that we're probably going to get some kind of like Legends Kyurem game next, or some other game that delves into the past of a previous region. Saying stuff like, oh, there's no reason it has to take place in the past and yada yada yada, and I was naive. I told them it's in the name Legend. There's no way it doesn't take place in the past, and lo and behold, I was completely wrong. But here's the thing, I am 100% okay and happy with being wrong, especially in this case. I'm more so looking forward to Legend ZA than I am any previous release in the past like 5 or 6 years. Every other release has made me significantly nervous in one way or another. Legends EA? Not nearly as much, believe it or not. But despite all of that, my whole point here is that Legends EA is definitive proof that Legends as a concept is so much better than any definitive edition could ever truly be. Essentially, I just kind of want to explain why I'm extremely pleased about the fact that we're getting something like Pokemon Legends ZA as opposed to just Pokemon Z. So you already know the drill by now. Why don't you go ahead, grab yourself a nice cool drink, maybe a glass of orange juice, and why don't you go ahead, grab that turkey out of there and boil it in some grape jelly while we talk about why Legends is much better than definitive editions could ever be. Let me start by saying that I think that definitive editions in this day and age would have been a complete waste of time. Don't get it twisted. I like Pokemon Emerald and Pokemon Platinum as much as the next guy. Those are some of the best games in the series by and far. But could you imagine if we were working with something like that now in the current era? People were so divisive when it came to Pokemon Sword and Shield. Could you imagine if we actually got Pokemon Gun, or whatever that third title would have been? Like, okay, yeah, sure, we could have potentially seen a situation in which we get a potential better third version that looks better, performs better, and just has a little more content overall, but is that really the direction that we would have wanted to see? As somebody that only plays the games and doesn't develop them, I can only make assumptions from the outside. And one of my primary assumptions for a long time now has been that definitive editions like Emerald, like Platinum, and so on and so forth were time saver entries. Taking assets from a previous game and utilizing them in a brand new game is something that developers do even in this day and age. Look at Tears of the Kingdom for Shink's sake, a prime example of this exact practice. In the case of Pokemon, it was a little more on the nose. Not only would they completely just reutilize and recycle all of their previous assets, they would pretty much copy and paste everything and then add a couple of minor tweaks and additions onto the new version and sell that at a completely new price. I can't speak for you guys, but as a kid, I obviously didn't think much into it. I thought, oh, okay, cool. I love 4th gen. Pokemon Platinum, let's go crazy. Pokemon Emerald, let's do it to it. You know what I'm saying? But then Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon came about, and then I was like, hold on, what is the purpose of this? This is the exact same game that I literally just played last year. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon really opened my eyes for the first time at how kind of greedy that practice was, and that I really didn't think I wanted them to do something like that again unless they were making significant enough changes to the actual game to make it actually different, unique, and worth buying. None of which I felt applied to Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, which I personally believe fits in the exact same category as Platinum and Emerald. I mean, don't get me wrong, all of the extra post-game stuff with Rainbow Rocket was cool and fun and all, but why am I spending another $40 for the exact same experience with minor changes when we easily could have just added like an update or something for like $10 that we could have just added on to the original experience through eShop? We were very good and well into the era of DLCs at this point. we didn't really need an entirely brand new experience, quote unquote. I have to imagine that the reason we got a definitive edition instead of like a sequel or something in the first place to Generation 7 is because of how Generation 5 was treated back in the day. People look back on Generation 5 very fondly now, much more than they ever did when the game originally released, to my understanding. And specifically because of that, I think that's the reason as to why they were nervous about making something like a sequel, something that continues the story within the same region as opposed to something that people have always loved, definitive editions or third versions. It kind of just felt like something of a safety net to unravel because they already just made the Gen 3 remakes for Generation 6. They didn't want to jump in the Gen 4 remakes just yet. It would have been way too early. And at the same time, they couldn't just immediately jump into Generation 8. It would have been way too soon. So they opted to do the best they could with the little bit of time they had allotted, which was Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which, in my personal opinion, kind of a waste of time. I mean, yeah, it's still the best way to play Generation 7, true enough, but overall, it didn't really need to happen. And you know, thinking back on it, I feel like that may be the reason as to why my memory for Gen 7 is so hazy and so soured. I was just so annoyed with the fact that we were barely getting any brand new content out of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon outside of the post-game stuff that I felt like it was kind of a waste of time, and that's what really opened my eyes to the situation with Pokemon. So hopefully, eventually, soon, I should probably revisit that, but that's a topic for another time. All of this to say, I feel like we might finally be out of the era of definitive editions, and I feel like that might be for the best, personally. As many times as you've seen me argue about the possibilities of Generation 9 getting another shot, another chance to really explore this region and see what it's truly capable of, I feel like it's simply too late for that, you know? In this day and age where video games are so damn expensive, I can't see a situation in which everybody feels justified getting a Pokemon Magenta after what happened with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Even if it is a little bit better, people are very tired of the mediocrity and they wanted to see some quality. So at the very least, I would much rather see something solid and new than something extremely high quality, but something that we already know like the back of our hands because we've had it for the last 2 years. The days of $40 DS games are very far behind us. Simply put, I don't think that a definitive edition in this age could bring me nearly as much joy or entertainment as a Legends game possibly could. Another one of those primary reasons being the fact that we have the opportunity to actually try new things with this series that we never could do with definitive editions. Could you imagine living in a world where we just got Pokemon Z as opposed to Pokemon Legends ZA? A possible scenario in which we don't get to explore the entirety of Lumio City freely like we want to by jumping from building to building, battling trainers in real time, battling Pokemon in the wild on top of buildings in wild areas in real time, years after the original event. A potential timeline where the only real change we get is simply the box legendary being available in-game being Zygarde as opposed to Xerneas or Yveltal. And then we just simply never look at that region ever again until the remakes. Could you imagine how boring that would have been? I simply can't see a situation in which Pokemon ever actually genuinely flops, but I can see a future where the series would be a lot more boring. You know? I know a lot of people are very iffy when it comes to the experimentation aspect of the Legends series, but that's what I love about it so much. I love that they're trying to do something new, trying to do something unique, trying to make something fun out of a series that otherwise wouldn't be able to do something like this at all. Even if it's not perfected just yet this time around, we get the opportunity to see these mechanics and things that might be foreshadowing what we could have to look forward to for the future of modern Pokemon. Something that, again, definitive editions are not capable of. And of course, one of the biggest applications of all of this is simply the fact that we actually get to enjoy new stories. Like I stated earlier, I was extremely upset about the fact that I spent so much time going back through Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon only to realize way too late that there wasn't all that much new stuff to look forward to in the main storyline. It wasn't until the point that we ran into those two characters that had something going on in the background that were kind of just stapled in throughout the story, kind of just info dumping randomly about something that we weren't going to experience well into the end of the game, that I realized how much of a waste of time that was. Of course, I don't speak for everybody on this. Everybody had a very different experience when it came to Generation 7, but me personally, I was just so irritated with the fact that the main story remained completely unchanged, because the way they showed this game off, it felt like it was going to be something brand new entirely, not just a rehash of what we had gotten before. Or maybe my memory is betraying me when it comes to those advertisements. I don't remember. It's been a very long time, but I was disappointed regardless. But as we've talked about time and time again, Pokemon Legends ZA presents the opportunity to do something new, to tell brand new stories in a future version of a region that we have not seen in years. We finally get to see all of these different developments for Lumio City, all of these different characters, maybe even what else is happening with the region. We get that chance that Z never would have given us alone. And that, by and far, argue with me all you want, is still, in my book, one of the better decisions this franchise has made in quite some time. I guess this is my dramatic and exaggerated way of saying that overall, I think that if the Legend series truly is replacing third versions or definitive editions, then I'm 100% all for it. The only reason we should be getting something like a third version or definitive edition anytime after the fact is after it's been like a multitude of years and we don't have access to that game anymore on current hardware. The reason that remakes are so generally accepted, for the most part, is because they give us a new way to play these outdated games that are completely inaccessible otherwise. So in that case, that's totally fine. I know exactly what I'm getting into with something like that, which is why I'm okay with something like the Thousand Year Door getting remastered and remade and put on Switch, or something like Persona 3 Reload getting remade from the ground up and put on modern consoles. But putting out a third version or like HD or remastered version of a game that came out only like a year ago isn't a method or tactic that's gonna work with us anymore, and I feel like they good and well know that. Which is why I think I can very much live with this tactic of them switching up and giving us something like the Legend series, which gives them the freedom to develop whatever they want, however they want to, while we at least get something new as opposed to the same thing just a couple years later. Of course, I could just be talking out of my ass here. This could mean absolutely nothing, and maybe you disagree, but I just think that the Legends formula is something that could work for the foreseeable future for this franchise in a positive way. But hey, you know what? Maybe that's just me. So that just about does it for this one. I'm so sorry, I've been so quiet, but I'll do better. I've got a couple things that I want to work on, but I simply just have no time or energy lately, but I'm gonna try, I'm gonna do better, so we'll get to that. But I'm gonna pass the mic over to you guys, and I want you guys to tell me everything that you're thinking in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that the Legends formula is something that's more of a net positive as opposed to definitive editions or third versions or whatever in this modern era of Pokemon, and this is something that we should move forward with? Or do you think that we should still get definitive editions, third versions that could amplify or even just outclass completely their prior versions to the point where they don't even need to be played anymore? Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gonzo. Thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!
So you can handle us, so cool, baby, scandalous. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So cool, baby, watch it now. It's a